Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the vCypher community channel. I've got to figure out a different way to introduce this whole thing because I just built it, and that's kind of what I'm going to spend a couple of minutes before we get into the topics at hand today, which are going to go all the way into stuff we started over on Patreon a couple weeks ago. With the space technology, the stuff that you guys voted on last month for me to cover a little bit more this month. This may be the last video I do on it, depending on how some of the news plays out. But actually, there's a fair amount of Joseph Farrell kind of thoughts that are going to be discussed here because he's been really active lately with coming around to some things that I didn't honestly think that he would. Pertaining to Einstein and Tesla himself. He's been saying some pretty cool stuff that contradict even some previous viewpoints that he's had in some of his alchemical books that he's written. We've talked about the Philosopher's Stone book that he wrote and all that. But we're going to get into that, but later in the episode and continue talking about the whole space paradigm that we seem to be getting into. So I'm streaming this on Theta as well, as I will continue to do. I got some people coming into the room here. Hello, Asa Fuentes. How are you doing? Not exactly a good fluid way to do any of the communications over here on Theta. I think I even spelled the name wrong. Yeah, I did. Fantastic. But that's that part of what I'm going to get into is the screen you guys saw up right here before I switched over to the Patreon channel, is kind of talking about how I plan on growing the Theta channel, but also I don't know how their statistics exactly work. It seems as if my viewer engagement, stream time, and chat are all different categories over on Theta in order to, I think, what is this? To reach affiliate. I don't even know what affiliate status gets me. I think the ability to post more videos. But I'll speak to all that stuff in a second. I hope everybody saw over on Patreon that we added more tiers. So this is something I was talking about in the last episode as well. But we now have a $5 level, a $15 level, in addition to the 3, which remains the same. There's really nothing that changes about the $3 level. Everybody who's at a $3 level on Patreon still gets all the same stuff, access to the videos and everything else. But I've included a community, a way for the community to access each other here with the $5 and $15 level. We've got a Discord channel now. Popped up right over here. We've got both a community channel and a research channel, which is a little bit smaller, because the research channel you get access to in the $15 level. So you have chat, meet people, talk about ideas, discuss vCypher, how is it used in plain sight. And then over in the research community, you actually get access in the $15 level in addition to the Discord server. You actually get an Evernote resource library. I'll go over all that stuff in a second, but basically, other good stuff like the monthly Patreon shout out and stuff other people like I put in there as well. But those are the two main things that you get access to now. If you upgrade your pledge, that's what it's called, I think, on Patreon for a monthly basis, and you'll be able to get an invite automatically to these channels. I also have a $25 level that I'm going to toy around with. I've only got one person signed up for this so far, but you'll become a moderator to help me moderate the community channel when you become a $25 member. Plus, more Theta badges once I get these out. I'm in the process of making these, so every one of the new tiers has a different badge in Theta associated with it. And I'll also be rolling those out real soon. But I'm going to do a follow back on Twitter. I'm going to be expanding my Twitter presence. I'm going to be doing one tweet a day on specific topics. I'll unveil more about what that is. It's going to be kind of a clever thing that I'm doing. But I'll follow you back on Twitter at this level. And most importantly, we'll engage with others in the community at this level with a video hangout every month. So we are not scheduling one of these yet because there's just the one person in here who I know on a personal basis already. So, you know, it wouldn't do me much use to have this outside of that. Once we have 3-4 people at the $25 level, we'll probably start having these live video discussions too. But it's there. So we got the inventor, the investigator, the initiate, and the insider. 25, 15, 5, and 3 are the different levels. And I hope this makes sense to everybody. It's just a new way for the community to engage. Everybody's been asking for this. So here it is. And if you guys are welcome to upgrade your pledge to whatever engagement level you see fit. But I did design these changes around you guys' requests. So I've already seen a couple of you guys do this, and we're starting to see people trickle into the Discord and such. But if you're looking at Theta, which you are, you should see this screen also at the bottom of the stream for those watching right now. So this is the live stream. We've got 4 viewers, and I added a couple of things down here for when we're over here on Theta, so you guys can better connect with me on my other sites. I added a BTC donation button here where you can click on this. It'll bring up a QR code even that you can scan, or you can copy paste this address should you want to donate some BTC to the cause, to the vCypher community. Here's the Patreon button. Anybody watching this video at least should be familiar here. No secret, but YouTube to direct people down. And then this new Incent referral code thing, which again, I'm still getting the hang of this. I actually might replace this with a PayPal button, especially with the news today that I didn't tee up the PayPal news today, but check it out. I have to, because we're gonna have to talk about crypto. PayPal, Cointelegraph, check it out. This is big news. PayPal to offer crypto payments starting in 2021, meaning any vendor that accepts PayPal will now accept the equivalent in crypto. Pretty big news. We've been waiting for something like this for a while. Now that it's coming past too, it's almost like, oh, of course, that was bound to happen. But here we are. And I'm sure a lot of you guys watching the stream are probably pretty happy to hear this. In fact, I got a couple texts coming in right now about it. So anyway, get your hands on some BTC, I guess, and some Theta, because there's some stuff going on with the Theta network too. If you go over to Bixweir's channel, I actually think he's onto something with his web address that he's uncovered with Binance's wallet address for one of their Theta wallets, ending in 555. By the way, and it's interesting to me because I don't know. Hash wallets are usually a randomly generated thing, but it's not to say you couldn't create your own hash value. So I wonder if the hash value that he's following, Bixweir is, by the way, this is just a teaser. I'm going to have to report on this story probably over on YouTube in the coming days, a little bit more once it unfolds. But everything's related to a rise in crypto prices, PayPal offering crypto payments. So I realize I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but I might replace this Incent button with PayPal for all intents and purposes, because this is kind of a bulky system. But we'll see how it goes. There's this like little referral code down here if you guys want to check it out. There's kind of like this kind of seems like a pyramid scheme basically. So to keep it clean, I might be deleting this. And anyway, this is just a better dashboard for you guys to look at my videos as well. Ta-da! Look at this. This is the main thing about Theta I wanted to announce to you guys, is that you can post videos now. So I posted the first video here. I also included this same video over on the vCypher Patreon page. So for newcomers that have never seen any of my work, and you want to, and you're a patron and you want to actually share my work with them, the last interview I just did last week with Corey on this Phoenix Enigma channel. We simulcast it over on Theta. I've posted that to the Patreon page, all 3 hours and 10 minutes of it. So they can watch this. They can get a foundation for what Steganography is. And I've also added that, of course, as my first video upload to Theta. So you can expect this to now populate just as I've populated the YouTube channel with videos. These will all stay here. I'm not taking these off of YouTube. But there's pretty soon not going to be a ton of impetus to stay over on YouTube because we don't have to censor ourselves over here. So keep an eye out for some of this stuff. It was all kind of forecast back along the way, tied in with a lot of the lead up to the space series. And I know we're kind of delayed getting going with the topics at hand here in this particular video anyway, because of all these new changes. But a lot of it parlays into the topics. This is why I'm setting it up, because I'm going to open Evernote back up in a second. And I kind of wanted you guys to see, and also go follow Corey. Speaking of the Phoenix Enigma and the interview we did, he now has a Theta presence. He's got the ability, because I think they added him as an affiliate already, because he already has such a big following on YouTube. I think he'll have the ability to post videos a lot more often than I do. I have the ability to post one video per week to Theta right now until my level up bar completes. So help me out with this, I guess, if you can, and chat in my window. I don't know how to get this statistic up, but follow Corey, and also look out for more stuff collaboratively from us in the near future, especially as Theta's functionality uncorks. So without further ado, for those that are at the $15 level over on my Patreon, this is what you'll now see in Evernote. And I'm going to start referencing a lot of these documents just from within Evernote while we go throughout our investigations. I know my head is down in the bottom right-hand corner, so I'm going to have to do my best to keep the section that we're referencing up in the top, quartile of the screen, like this. But I wanted to point everybody to this because I uploaded basically one of my entire Google Drives that pertains to the research that I do and where I get some of my analysis and information from, and how I know that what we've been talking about lately regarding the new space paradigm technology future. If you go back to the Patreon channel, everything from really, we're going to talk about a couple of beats that bring the Bucky O'Hare concept back in. Something called Jade Rabbit has been hitting the news. Joseph Farrell, again, I told you at the beginning of the stream, Joseph Farrell was going to be somebody that I was going to be referencing because I think he's just spot friggin' on now. I think he's on to the correct path of knowing what the alchemy in the field propulsion technology paradigm is all about. I think he's danced around it. I've read all of his books, and I think he's danced around some really core components of it for a really long time. But a lot of what he was still corked up around was this fact that he was referencing Einstein's work with the torsion, like alongside Nikolai Kozyrev's, instead of referencing Tesla's alongside Kozyrev's, because Kozyrev's work was kind of just derivative of Tesla's. And so now, like what we'll find out today is, in one of the interviews he was doing with Dark Journalists, there's a clip I want to play and speak to because it directly ties in with the Steganography stuff. But one of his blogs referenced Jade Rabbit, this operation with the moon and the Artemis plan. And so I really do recommend, if you haven't gone back and watched the Bucky O'Hare series and then kind of the tee up to it and the last few videos we've done on space, go watch these first, because the concepts that we're going to be talking about kind of require that you have that as a reference point, totally comprehend it. Anyhow, back to our resource library. So for those that are just coming to the resource library, this is all of Anatoly Fomenko's stuff, by the way. All these books, the history, fact, or fiction, I've got these all in PDF form, and it's really easy to just kind of thumb through these when you have access to this Evernote server, and you can read page by page all about this false history paradigm, the history mystery that we reference a lot on the channel. So this is all, you have access to all this at the, what is it? The Investigator, with the $15 Investigator level on Patreon. And I've also got a bunch of other books and stuff, of course, that I've uploaded here that I have PDFs of. Some of Manuel Velikovsky's stuff I have in here. So anyway, just good reference material for V-Steganography to test out your skills, because that's the whole point of me putting some of this stuff up here. It's for you guys to dig in. I can't read everything. I haven't read completely all of these texts, of course. I mean, who has the time? But like Babel in the Bible, this is a wonderful analysis. Boy. Anyway, I've got a lot of the Buckminster Fuller work in here, of course, speaking to the Buckyball and Bucky O'Hare that we were just talking about. But it's really up to you guys to kind of course through here. There are books, as you can see, and then I have financial analysis. This is really where some of the rubber meets the road, because it's part of what we're going to be referencing today. I'm going to pull back up. You'll see space funds like this. This is the stuff I've amassed over the years, and that's what a lot of the stuff pertains to in the financial analysis category is how we're reading between the lines and following the money. Catherine Austin Fitz, of course, who we're also going to reference here in one of her recent conversations with Joseph Farrell, the heart of all of it today. We see the realm that they talk about, and they reference studies like these, not studies, but more, this isn't really a study rather than a proclamation of an investment class being built with many people involved. It's kind of like an investment slide presentation where you get to government funding. I'm showing you guys some of these logos because the V-Steganography that's in here beneath my, here, if I zoom in, if I open it, right, you guys can see a little bit more clearly underneath my mug. JXS, there's the pentagram. Of course, we've got the Saturn symbolism with NASA, like what we were talking about last time. I'm going to go back and again at the end of the last video that I did, this one right here, Pythagorean roots of Tesla's technology and the Venus families of ancient masonry. Again, if you haven't watched that video, you're not going to get some of these reference points that you might need to otherwise just by looking at this stuff. But this is what I'm saying with the V-Steganography, guys. It's really easy to pull up any old document in here. Oh, there's some V-Steganography. How lambdas, V's, pentagrams. How am I going to look at this alchemically and see and follow the money, where this technology is coming from? Who's spending the money? Who are the entities involved? Okay, Boeing's going to be in the news today. These are all the aerospace companies. SoftBank at the top of this whole NASDAQ whale crisis where they're whipsawing the markets around. Google and the antitrust lawsuit. Okay, Fidelity with the pyramid. You've always had to have wondered about this, right? So all of the government fund, the space fund, right, is being formed. You can read all about the space fund. It's a slide deck, or you could go to the OECD actual prospectus and outlooks. These are all like 2017 onward. Very, very new economies that are spinning out of here. Hey, Voids. Thanks for joining the chat. Still getting the hang of this whole Theta stream simulcast thing, but you get Goldman Sachs reports. I've got Deloitte forecast reports. Guys, this is what all the big boys in the industries are using to now analyze their money placement. And with FASB 56, everything we've talked about with the Solari report and the government's ability to hide this stuff, it's no wonder why we're in a weird time for like what this disclosure war is all about. The mystery history is what ultimately is behind all of it, I think, the archaeology component. So What else do we have in here for you guys? Like we got images, right? I've got all the images I've used in my presentations uploaded into here. It was in that same Google Drive. Whoa, it's freaking out. You know, representations of hyperbolic discs. This is a Greek hyperbolic disc. This is a weather pattern place where you can definitely see the hyper. You know, I've got a lot of this type of comparative stuff for you guys to look at. But more importantly, like some really cool resources that you probably haven't seen yet. Yeah, this is the one I was looking for, like the swamp. This is kind of neat. You can pull this up and see like the level of interactivity that people exist up top here. And the white rabbit is at the heart of all this stuff. That's just why I've always liked this graphic. The white rabbit is the meme we've been using alongside all of the stuff with space. And Q even looks at this meme or uses this meme to its advantage, the white rabbit. But anyway, the papacy is at the bottom. And then, of course, like the overlords and the bloodline families, there's even a level above this. That's what I'm convinced of. Magic behind the matrix. We've got, you know, Sorcerer City, the Vatican, the V faction itself, the bottom of all of this, right? There it is. Who's controlling the V faction is always what I want to know. But that's kind of a fun one, right? You've got that, plus you've got I remember I think I passed it up here. Yeah, I've got like this whole deep state map that has to do with Jeffrey Epstein right at the center of it, right? You see, you can kind of see all the players. This is circa like 2018, I think. But of course, Viacom Media over here is part of the Freud communication. Remember, V steganography has to do with Hermes, Mercury communication. We're in Mercury retrograde right now. Remember, by the way, just warnings to everybody. Hope everybody's doing okay with the Mercury retrograde. But Freud, you know, false psychology, really, like egoist psychology. Vera Wang is up here. So easy to look through this stuff and identify V steganography, paint some pictures toward how all this stuff connects to the space economy, everybody. The resources are yours. There's one that I'm going to pull up, though. The Artemis Accords. Artemis Plan. This is the Artemis Plan, September 2020. So we're getting into the bulk of what we've been referencing for a couple of videos now. I've already pointed out the V steganography and the Artemis Plan logo. It's a lambda with the moon behind it. The menstrual blood is very present here. This is the Earth, or, you know, I don't know what else it could represent, like in a cellular structure. But the Artemis Plan is lined up with this goal that has to do. Oh my gosh, I have to disable the web blocker. Refresh this page. The Great American Solar Eclipse, the 2024 path of totality that's coming. This also is a ritual to do with the moon. We've discussed this many times on the alchemy series, this 10-hour long alchemy series that was 4 videos long, that we concluded right before we started this whole topic. Okay, so just as a refresher to that, this is what the Artemis Plan and its ritual patterns are signified by. So what we can infer about all of this is there's the X marks the spot over the New Madrid Fault, has something to do with the Templars. The Templars symbolism, the Jolly Roger, the X marks the spot. We talked about that on Corey's feed, by the way. If you want to know my thoughts on this, you can watch that, not that feed, but go watch the interview or the conversation we had on the V steganography foundations and what the Templar knowledge really is about the X and the X marks the spot and what it means pertaining to Jesus. So there are a lot of mysteries that are that are locked up in the X marks the spot in this 2024 ritual. We're right over the New Madrid Fault, right next to Lake of the Ozarks, Land of Oz, which, just like the Grand Canyon, was affected by a Venus bolt that came in, as we read about in David Talbot's Thunderbolts of the Gods in the previous videos about Venus and the plasma discharges that create certain geological structures, create gold on the Earth. Here's a representation of that. Okay. This is all connected to this 2024 Artemis plan ritual and race to get there. Okay. I don't know who ultimately, if we remember that deep state map that we just saw, who might be above the Vatican in this situation, but they're clearly there. And this is where all the Steganography breakaway civilization stuff comes in, and where it suspiciously looks like Antarctica, and the Nazis and the Russians from pre-World War II periods are all tied up into this stuff, and us, of course. But I mean, it's just one big jumbled mess as it relates to history. So this Artemis plan is really key, and Joseph Farrell, thank you again to him, pointed this out on his blog that it came out the other day. And I was not aware that this was actually like a prospectus. That I put this in my Evernote, so you can find it in there as well. But you get the contribution. There's some just basic information in here about where the contributions are coming from. I haven't really picked this apart yet too much. Is this OCR'd? That's what I want to know. No, it doesn't have optical character recognition. Or let me test it out on something. Oh, it does. Okay. So this was something I found in here. There it was. Thank God. Next step. You guys see this next step here? This is something related to Steve Jobs and the whole Bitcoin reset. I think I've read. So, Appendix E. The team issued broad agency announcement. Appendix E. Next step to conduct studies, produce system level prototypes to reduce risks and advance human lander technologies. So, if we're going to Appendix E, we're going to find Appendix E. I forgot where I was going with the I forgot where Appendix E was. Essentially, the only thing I've been able to pick apart here was this next step thing. Is all I'm really saying with the Steganography stuff. For those, I'm almost like inviting you guys to this document to help me research it, kind of thing, because as you recall, I've done just a few videos back related to the current war situation and my suppositions that Steve Jobs is still alive. We've gone over this weird article that CNBC posted where Bill Gates was jealous of Steve Jobs' wizardry. Thank you to Sonic Alchemy again, who pulled this up. But here it is again. God, all this ad stuff. Anyway, I'll include this in the description again. I'll put this at the end here so there's no mistaking. But the whole thing with Steve Jobs' creation of Next Step, which is actually what became iOS. So the whole thing and the whole notion about the Artemis plan, Next Step is the basis for what iOS and the Mac operating system is. So it tells me in some way that under Next Step, to conduct studies and produce system-level prototypes to reduce risk and advanced human lander technologies. Human lander technologies, which could just be quite simply craft. But using Next Step as a next level, like Steganography of the mind, human lander technologies. Are we talking about like remote viewing type of a situation? I have no doubt that the Artemis plan to land on the moon here by 2024 has something to do with an archaeological find or a dig. Based on the nature of the moon, though, and what we've investigated with how I think if you go back to the end of the last video where we're listening to the THX sound effect, same sound effect that the rings of Saturn make in a harmonic, Norman Berggren's work would seem to indicate that these craft that are circling Saturn have constructed these rings. One might assume, since the rings resonate with musical chords and musical notes, that it's an instrument, and that the moons around it have with these pucker marks, just like the back of the moon also has, would be constructed objects, as if, as we've demonstrated with the sound. I'm going to demonstrate it again here just to show those that missed out. I'm going to demonstrate how the planets themselves, or the planetary bodies, the moons themselves, can act as like fingertips on a fret. So if this is the case, and the moon is constructed from this same stuff and sent here, maybe, there has a lot to do with this whole Artemis plan, the archaeology assignment assigned to us to go there, and figure out what it has to do potentially with this whole thing in Saturn. This is where I'm wondering right now, because this is the direction I'm wondering in right now, because this is key to me. This whole Artemis plan thing is key to me. And this is the article that Joseph Farrell, here's his blog that he wrote about. But in the same blog, I had no idea about any of it. But he talked about this Jade Rabbit probe, okay? The Jade Rabbit probe. So China's Jade Rabbit moon rover declared dead. So this thing came out in 2016. This isn't what I wanted to see, or is it? Jade Rabbit. All this followed the successful landing of the Jade Rabbit probe on the probe. So Jade Rabbit landing. Jade Rabbit moon landing. This has to do with China too, okay? So the Jade Rabbit moon landing, scientific. So here it was. Maybe this is the closest thing we're going to find. Okay. China's lunar rover got back to work on the far side of the moon Thursday after waking from a 5-day hibernation. There we go. There's the steganography. I had this pulled up earlier in a different article, and I forgot to save it. The Jade Rabbit 2. Okay. So the Jade Rabbit 2, and it had a mission. Beijing was pouring millions with hopes of having a crewed space station by 2022. But then ultimately, this is the story. So I'm still uncovering the details of this, guys, because this Artemis thing seems like a many years long ordeal to uncover, and this is why I am so adamant about figuring out what's going on with this thing reawakening a couple of days ago. Joseph Farrell's recognizing that this is an odd occurrence, the timing of it, with the release of the Artemis Accords. And I don't think he's speculating anymore on much either. He's just saying China is, of course, not the only nation recently to have sent probes to the moon, taking pictures, right? The only thing I'm recognizing myself is it has something to do with our Jade Rabbit, Mr. Bucky O'Hare. This is an anthropomorphization of steganography of sorts, used to guise something in plain sight so that we aren't savvy to exactly the message being portrayed here. He fights the swamp, the bankers, right? He fights the swamp monsters, the toads. Who are the toads? The toads represent kind of the Vogon from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, who are the bureaucrats. So in a sense, what the steganography leads you to the conclusion of is Bucky O'Hare is the enemy of the bureaucrats. So, but look at his guy. Look at him too. He seems. I never noticed before, but I mean, he's got the red. He's got a gold star though. The red star is the communism, and he's got a gold star. So I guess there's more to it than meets the eye. In other words, I'm still decoding it, and so this is a little bit unpolished, raw thoughts showing you how I'm using the resources that I've got available to me here in the Evernote server, so you guys can kind of get the idea of what we're doing. But anyway, more to come as we pick stuff like this apart. There's also fun stuff, like, funny enough, just if you come over to the search function. Yeah, there it is, the Brookings Report. I've got fun stuff like the Brookings Report, which a lot of folks have said is a debunked document relating to if you just look at the cover, the proposed studies on the implications of peaceful space activities for human affairs. What is this all covering up, right? I have no idea. I have no idea what it's covering up. But I have gone through this several times, and it's pretty rote. It's just like standard diplomacy procedures. Like, here you go. Introduction for goals and methods, genesis and intentions, methodology and philosophy behind establishing connections, right? So I don't think this is theoretical, but it's interesting. They've got like things in here, weather control. Oh, probable organizational prerequisites for applying future weather observations capabilities, weather forecast utilization implications. So they've got a lot of this stuff that leads up to the weather modification history timeline that I've pointed everybody toward, manifestation of how some of this tech is installed in space. So have fun with this. It's your resource for the investigator level folks out there. And Evernote is probably going to be a good resource for us all to have access to this. It's just I've spent countless hours amassing this library myself and using this library, and it does no good just in my hands. These studies at the bottom too of solar activity, if you want to get a better gauge on the stun. Anyway, back to kind of the matters at hand. Artemis, right? Artemis and the rings of Saturn. I'm tying this all together because we didn't go too far in the last video to this potential conclusion that the moon is part of the musical instrument of Saturn that's keeping the mind control spell in our, over the top as an overlay over the top of our consciousness, right? Our mind, the V. The whole thing of the V Foundation, again, can be watched in this video if you missed it with Corey. Go back and watch that too. You've got some catching up to do. I keep referring you back to some other videos before we go on, but it is important because this still blows my mind that this is what the rings of Saturn break down to if you deconstruct and analyze them, taking Norman Berggren's work, right? So without further ado, for those that want their mind blown again, just like in the last video, here's what we're talking about. The moons and rings of Saturn translated into music. Pretty self-explanatory. Now, in the last video, I showed this, but if you guys are recognizing, all they're doing is they're finding a common radii right here that's going to go across all the rings, that when each one of these moons' orbital patterns reaches it, they're going to add a ping. And these pings get added in a very synchronistic way. like, again, this is probably the second time anybody's heard this, but... And that last part sounds an awful lot like, almost exactly like, George Lucas's THX intro. Same sound signature. Yeah. So, why is this significant? Well, look what I found. Gematrinator, right? George Lucas. George Lucas is the creator of Star Wars and of well, I actually don't know if THX has any Star Wars. Star Wars does. The Star Wars 119 and the space technology paradigm, and George Lucas's 113. And remember, 113 just means not what something is perceived to be. We've demonized 113 a lot of times with, hey, AV Adams 77, 2020 is all fours. What do you mean by that? Let me know. Let me know what you mean by that. 2020 is all fours. But George Lucas, just like green screen, Phoenicians, bullshit, untruth, you know, all these things that you can, Titanic, that are veiled in secrecy, veiled in lies. That's basically fiction. Fiction is another thing that equals 113. George Lucas is creating a fiction that's not such a fiction. Remember, he gives you part of the cipher a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. He's just reversed your order of thinking on that. Not so long ago in a galaxy very close by or within, 2020 is all fours in the Gematrinator. Oh, okay. I see. Thanks, A.V. Adams. So what we can infer basically from this 113 is that it's codified into certain news coming out too. And wouldn't you know it, that this very Jade Rabbit news broke and they officially announced on October 13th, which was a 113 numerology day, when they broke this news. So THX, George Lucas, 113, the Saturn myth. David Talbot, our friend here, who wrote Thunderbolts of the God, also has a great book called The Saturn Myth, which I actually, to test this out, I actually think I have this. Saturn Myth, there it is, book, David Talbot. Oops. Saturn Myth. There it is. Boom. Howell, there it is. Perfect. And then you can go through the Saturn Myth. I love having this up, guys. It's I think it's a cool resource for everybody. Anyway, this is what we're trying to decode with what Saturn signifies, what this whole, I think the moon as a part of this instrument matters. I think that's why this whole X marks the spot thing on 2024 across, because again, the one in 2017 went this way. The one in 2024 is going this way. I thought they had another graphic representation on here, but no, they didn't. So anyway, this is something we've talked about at length with the Patreon channel. We're going to go deeper onto the boring ritual thing today too, and how that might relate to some of the space tech announcements. But keep our eyes on Artemis. Artemis is all about some key things happening. And Joseph Farrell's whole take on the quadruple entente is brilliant. I think a lot of his speculation ties back to this, so I don't borrow from his speculation. I'm just pointing out some things in addition to his research that he's already done on these documents that I found. But I got to give him some cred today, because a lot of what we're going over is in relation to him. Before we get into Joseph Farrell stuff, actually is where I wanted to go. I wanted to point to everybody that there was a significant hit in one of my earlier videos from this year. There's a lot of the early V-Steganography stuff from the beginning of the year 0 playlist over on my YouTube page. Again, if you go to the playlists over there, you just go to year 0 playlist. Excuse me. 25 videos long now. And in these earlier videos, I was actually signifying that the Seahawks, throughout the playoffs, I was looking at all the numerology and was signifying that the Seahawks actually represent the military factions. Everything, if the Buccaneers are representative of the Templars, as we've talked about, and I talked about in Corey's interview that I did with him last week, again, up on my YouTube channel over here where it's got the most views, but that the Seahawks represented the number 22, the master builder number, and this unveiling of Space Force. The numbers 119 for the Star Wars, 1722 for 22, and 43 kept coming up. If you look over here, Boeing and the Economic Collapse was a video I did that kind of capstoned a lot of this stuff. Somewhere in here, in these 4 videos kind of leading up to the Super Bowl, I stated that the Seahawks probably were not going to do anything that year because there was this whole ritual related to the number 24, Marshawn Lynch, Kobe Bryant, and this whole thing with the Lakers actually winning the championship this year, I suspect, if you read through where the numbers are at. But I also said that the Seahawks would do well this year if we were going to see the space paradigm unfold. And so that is the hit that I'm pointing to. And there's the 5-0 record before they go into the bye week. So the Seahawks actually didn't play this last week, so they remained 5-0 because they had the bye. So it's significant that they got 5 wins and stopped, because 5 is the V-Steganography. Plus, pretty clear as day, the 33 career game-winning drives that they highlighted here. 27-26 win. Why this matters to me is because when you see these numbers right next to each other, I think it's pretty hard to deny that the 27 signifies the Hebrew alphabet and the 26 signifies the English alphabet. 26 letters in the English alphabet, 27 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. So I'm gonna bet you that this is a marker that says, if you go look at the gematria in the Hebrew ciphers, what you're going to find is some more V-Steganography uncovered. I haven't done that yet. I haven't had the time. But again, they also have these October 13th days talking about in here. So there's a lot going on with the 113 in the V-Steganography, and of course the 5-0 record's significant. The Seahawk represents the B2 bomber, right? B2 bomber. If you look at the side profile of this thing, look at this. It's a friggin' hawk. It's the same profile as the Seahawk. Look at this. Okay? So they actually styled this thing after the aerodynamics of a hawk. The hawk is also something that is keen on the history mystery because of what Horus is representative of, and Horus is the hawk in our V-Steganography. Way of thinking, right? It's a Hermetic symbol that goes back to Egypt, and it's the hawk. So you get, Horus. And the eye of Horus has to do with the cheetah. These are symbols that are really, really familiar to us all by now, representing the center of the brain. Okay? Okay. So the hawk is actually Horus, and this has always been something that has been symbolized as the Christ kind of energy, right? Using one's intuition along with their heart chakra. There is a fallacy to be committed by leaning too much into the power of the hawk. However, as you see, the hawk has the sun over the head. Not so with actually another image that we're going to pull up with Venus over the head between the Taurus. This is Thoth. So this is actually real simple. We're going to come back to this in a second because Horus's symbolism has the sun above. And the reason for this is because the hawk, the reason why Horus is represented as the hawk and why it is also representative of the eye of Horus to see the pineal gland is that the hawk can look directly into the sun and not be blinded. Look directly into the sun and not be blinded. So it's a riddle. Horus is just a representative in the mythology of the Hermetic tradition in Egypt that represents the ability to receive divine energy from the sun direct to your pineal gland and recognize it and not turn away from it. It's not literal, okay? But anybody using the hawk for other means, we should be suspect of too. And I'm going to show you in a second how this actually plays out, and why, alongside the Seahawks being 5-0, we can use this steganography of Horus. So, what I'm getting at here is the Seahawk is the same as Horus in a symbology representation, which is to bring out the ancient knowledge, which is propulsion technology, of which the B-2 bomber has been built and constructed around, in fact. So the B-2 bomber is this ancient Hermetic tradition. It's Nikola Tesla's technology. How did Nikola Tesla invent it? From the ether, the medium by which that the eye of Horus connects, okay? There's something of knowledge related to, again, this, I'm going to point to this event that just happened over on Nine Nanya's channel. She pointed this out in June. On July 25th, Venus passed through the horns of Taurus perfectly. It was the thing that Isis on the wall, Egypt. Not that Isis. Goodness sakes, they have hijacked the goddess. Okay. Here we go. Isis with the same symbolism. Isis, Mary, Horus, Jesus. Because Horus and Isis were also depicted together in a lot of ways. Isis and Horus were depicted in a lot of different contexts. Mary and Jesus, the divine virgin energy. Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Earth Grid, Parasite Network, Pentagon Network. All this stuff relating to this energy, guys. There's a really, really, again, if you gotta go watch my earlier videos to get that little thread of memology that I just dropped there. But this is signified as an astrological event that's very important in all of these statuettes, in all of the cave reliefs. Horus with the sun above it, and Mary with Venus above it. But you see the snake is wrapping around this one, so this is Scorpio. The snake wrapping around the sun would be Scorpio. So sun in Scorpio, and let's see here. Sun in Scorpio. I'm just figuring this out, I think. So the sun in Scorpio, Vedic astrology. Sun in Scorpio, Vedic astrology. Dates. I need to type in here. Oh my goodness. It's not pulling me up. Okay, Scorpio, November 15th, December 15th. Interesting. So this is what we have for this year. Whoa. Not okay. This is yikes. Sorry, everybody. She seems to be selling more than just Vedic astrology there. But she does seem to have the dates down correct. I think that's all I was looking for. Yeah. So here we go. November 15th, December 14th for this year. So I'm kind of thinking that this is the window. Just given, so if I'm looking at these, I don't even know if these are in order, guys, but I'm looking at this Isis and Horus symbolism as we speak. And I'm just thinking, okay, one event follows the other. This event this year is a very rare event, followed by whatever is to follow, whatever is to come afterward when the sun's in Scorpio. Interesting. Or wait, no, the snake, because I'm wrong about Scorpio. Snake in Zodiac. Actually, the year of the snake is a Chinese zodiac symbolism. I have to work this out. Because if the snake is only represented in the Chinese zodiac, it's just escaping me, because it's actually the scorpion and the eagle that is Scorpio, not the snake. So I think I'm onto something here, though. There's something to be told. I got to leave this tab up because this is kind of my own process, guys. I'm thinking through some bookends for some dates here is what I'm thinking as a decode for this whole thing. I got to figure out if these reliefs were next to each other to some extent. I got to see if these were on the same wall, basically. But the fact remains around Horus. Back to Horus and the whole ritual with the Seahawks and their 5-0 record. I think this indicates a positive hit that the new knowledge is about to come out, just like this relief of Thoth representing the Hermetic knowledge of Hermes. Hermes is Thoth, right? So the Venus passing through the horns of Taurus, followed by Thoth transcribing knowledge in its Mercury retrograde, which Hermes is also the chief symbolism of, right? This is a crazy time to be alive, because I feel like we've hit these astrological alignments to the degree that we're living through something huge. I feel this in every fiber of my being. What does this indicate? Gosh, if the Seahawks go off and they win the Super Bowl this year, and the V Steganography numbers are all over it, again, ask yourself, what can you find with using the cipher? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Seahawks are huge, huge memes as it relates to this season. Plus I think the Packers, because the Big G, they're the Freemasonry faction too. And I think they represent the Grange concept, the Grange and the Freemasons. If we're talking about, our Venus family book here. By the way, maybe I will have to at least do one more video about this, because the megalithic yard comes into consideration with the sacred geometry built around the Washington, D.C. Capitol. And there's some interesting stuff that I've found in here that we're just not going to get to today. So I think that does actually signify I'll do another Patreon video before the month is over to talk about where we're going with this. But if you are also looking at the Boeing company, okay, I let everybody know the new technology would start rolling out too alongside. We weren't just going to have jets. We weren't just going to have space tech. We were going to have an influx of new technology. And we've got this Sikorsky company, which is, of course, the V and Lambda steganography associated with Lockheed Martin and Boeing, based in Seattle. And we've got this new lift technology to replace modern helicopters. So across the board, We have industry in the dark programs and the skunk works and the phantom works departments of these publicly traded companies. We're starting to get exactly what we anticipated. This type of stuff. Very interesting times we're living in. This is another indicator of the space paradigm unfolding. What is going to happen after the election? I have no friggin' clue. But with the election in mind, this is actually one of the other ways that I want people to look through what's happening right now to find truth. Because, like here's this Liz Crokin character. We've got Anna Kate. I was made aware of Anna Kate, who's actually a Q proponent. Liz Crokin is one of the people who investigated the Pizzagate deal. Actually haven't looked much into Liz Crokin, but it's this Anna Kate figure that gets me, because she's overtly a follower of Jesus, and right in her profile, forgiven and redeemed. Remember, I'm always suspicious of these words, redeemed. It means you've sold your soul to the bankers. Sold your soul to the bankers. Christ is not a meme for finance. That's what he is. Not a redeemer. He's not a salve. You can only save yourself. He can only show you the way to save yourself. If you think about it in these terms, Jesus' life, it was an example of how we should live, not be redeemed, right? He is not the redeemer. But she's, conservative and patriot, right? So when she capitalized this, it's just, to me, it's like, okay, I'm calling it out. I'm a slave, is what she's saying. Okay. What is she a slave to? Well, what the whole thing that brought me to my attention about her work was just last week, was on October 14th, actually. Got to scroll all the way down to her October 14th posts. Boy, she posts a lot of tweets. And honestly, guys, I scrolled all the way down before this video started, I promise you, but it seems to have refreshed when I got to the top. I'm getting there. I'm almost there. So her research the other day pertained to a drop. And this is, common terminology in Q language, or in the Q followers community, that she had these documents that, oh my gosh, are they even here anymore? Oh, hold on, guys. Hold the phone. I swear, October 14th. United States, October 14th. Oh my goodness. Are they even here? Oh, here they are. Crap. I almost flipped out because I was like, did they take this off for some reason? So she posted this. She's posting all this Q stuff, all this, because everything in the news is Hunter Biden related the last week or so. Election meandering, like whatever. It's all it's all the theater, right? Sure, they're corrupt, like expose them. But all of the stuff she's posting alongside this, she's talking about the CIA whistleblower Alan Parrott's letters to VP Joe Biden and Brian Ettinger, asking why intelligence on Osama bin Laden is being ignored while operatives are being killed. And so she said, I accidentally added the first image twice. It's the letter that Alan Parrott sent to Ettinger. In another post, the letter Alan sent to Joe Biden are 3 separate pages. And it's like on this letterhead, okay, it has a hawk, which is also what a raptor is. And we're talking about this Eye of Horus thing, right? So to me, this is like the cautionary tale of Icarus. Don't fly too close to the sun. Don't fly too close to the sun. You're not a hawk. And the whole idea of flying too close to the sun is that you don't need to fly too close to the sun. You can access its energy through your third eye, really what the Eye of Horus represents, by other means, connection with divinity, to culture, to your own creativity, to your voice. These are all the ways that I would recommend to keeping this stuff in perspective. But she's talking all about the NSA, this correspondence between these two guys that she posted is explaining a lot of, in my opinion, this material justifies a special trip by yourself to the vice president for a briefing and strategy session. This is a complex matter. I'll be more than happy to attend. And they're talking about business dealings starting in 2011, right? Pretty innocuous stuff. But they're basically what they're going to do about it. The presentation outlines only a portion of the definitive proof that the UCR have obtained over the last 5 years, that demonstrates how and why the U.S. government was squarely behind the URL's detention inside Iran. So more of the dealings, it just points to more of Biden's warmongering dealings. Senator McCain was involved, probably at the heart of all this, in fact. But that Biden had stuff to gain. None of this is of too much of a surprise to anybody. But this is just Alan Parrott. Come on. CIA whistleblower, Alan Parrott. What is he parroting? What message is he parroting, right? He's repeating this conservation of raptors. This is a hallmark to me that a faction is attempting to hijack the Christ meme. These Redeemer folks. I don't know who Anna Kate is, but I don't trust her just because of all this stuff. She's, I don't trust her. The way it says she's been redeemed. Don't trust. And just be wary of what the Antichrist meme is, guys. This is what I suspect, actually, the Antichrist meme in these times of tribulation between these two eclipse periods in 2017 and 2024, what it signifies. Because to look past the symbolism to see how the Christ meme is being used against you, anything that would have, like Anna Kate, or anybody like Anna Kate, who would have you believe that her message is wholesome or has anything to do with Gnostic Christianity, is false, because she's using Gnostic Christianity against you. And she's got you. She's got you in the V noose. She's got your noose in the V, your intellect. Remember the Greek concept of the noose. So this is something I'm introducing now because it relates to the Seahawks. Now, what would be interesting is if we had the Seahawks and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers duking it out for the NFC Championship Series, right? The Templars versus the Space faction. We also have the Masons also in the NFC. So you have to look at, I guess, let's just have a little fun activity here. We've got the Patriots, the Patriot Act and the faction that they represent is out. The New York Jets are grounded because they're 0-6. They're grounded because, there isn't any airline travel passing through right now. Baltimore Ravens, the Magic, the Raven represents magic. So magic is, rampant, and Pittsburgh Steelers is a confusing one to me because manufacturing has also come to a standstill. What does that one signify? But we have the Titans at 5-0 too. We have the Chiefs and the Titans at 5-0 over in the AFC. So look at what we have here, guys. We have the Flaming T, who I think the Titans. This is a Greek concept. This is like the Tesla. The Tesla company, like the Tesla cars, SpaceX, the technocrats. I've thought for a while that T could represent that. So if we get the technocrats, the Templars. Oh, look at the Templars were 4-2, 42 to start the year too. Interesting. Very fun stuff, guys. We're in for the NFL, in other words, to give us part of the narrative as to what's happening with this space paradigm. That's what I'm painting for you that we were supposing earlier in the year that's coming true now. And it's interesting to follow. So why is this of a chief importance with some other more fun stuff like relating to Antarctica? Well, let's paint you a picture here. Let's change gears a little bit. come back to that. Yeah, we'll come back to that. So Anna Kate covered that. We got to cover this topic here. So this is yet another thing Joseph Farrell surfaced on his blog. Gosh, in these last couple weeks, I actually, most of the stuff that I found out that was net new came directly from over his blog. I just have takes to build upon what's already been said over there, but he shared that there's something fishy going on with this story that didn't come from a news publication, but rather a forum somewhere, the best and worst horror reviews and bizarre news. It's like this little RSS blog. And it's interesting because it's based around this guy, this Michael Forsyth, who wrote Houdini versus Rasputin. Like this whole book of, I think like he was arguing that Houdini is Rasputin. If you can take a look, right? I think that's what his argument is in this book. But like, regardless of what you think of whoever this guy is, because I never even heard of him, he wrote this piece on this forum that was like a really tall tale as it relates to Antarctica. And Antarctica is key to the history mystery. And while it doesn't factor in to, Anatoly Fomenko's stuff with the false chronology, he doesn't have much to say on Antarctica itself. But we do know that from the goings on of a lot of the political factions down there, let's just say in the last couple of years, that there are some suspicious things. And to point out to you a couple of those in this story is just from a numerology perspective, before we get into the high drama that is this story. Let me just highlight some of these numerology things. No word from the ice for 5 days. Okay, so there's number one. Obviously, we'll show you why that matters. There's the 50. There's the 5 for the V steganography. 150 feet. Dr. Vindogradov, 32 foot long. Right, we're just tagging some of this stuff that obviously 33rd degree Freemasons, 33 vertebra in the spine to make up your chakra system. 33 is a very important number for mankind and your consciousness. So there's some other stuff in here. I know. Lake Vostok, right? Lake Vostok. Oop. So the common nouns, like the proper nouns, of course, with the V steganography, we always kind of highlight those. It's a good exercise just to highlight them and then see how they connect. But there was one more thing down here where there were 5 survivors. Yes, 5 survivors. But I'm sure we will find it. Wait, here it is. The 5 surviving scientists. Okay. So I'm going to paint you this picture, guys. This is a tall tale, it would seem, about something that has gone on in Lake Vostok, 1,000 feet below the surface, 2.2 miles beneath the cored surface. Remember how I was just telling you that 22, one of the numbers from the gematria early on in the year that relates to this. Go watch these videos, the early series where I'm decoding the NFL playoffs from last year. Before any of the COVID-19 stuff even spun up, we were talking about these numbers. And here it is. Pretty plain as day in the middle of this. Here's Lake Vostok underneath the cored ice. And the idea is that the Russian scientists took them, how many years did it take them? They were missing for 5 days. But it took them a certain amount of time to drill. 30 years, more than 30 years to drill down there. So it took them 30 years to get 2.2 miles down, and then they sent Russian scientists down to investigate. Okay, Lake Vostok again. One of the Russian scientists' names in this story, of course, was Dr. Vindogradov, and he was killed. Okay, so he was one of the people that was killed, and apparently, when they went down to the bottom of the ice. This team of Russian scientists were just on an exploratory mission, all PhDs. They went down and there was no word from them for 5 days. They lost contact, right? What they came back with 5 days later was that they'd made contact with this organism, 46b. 46b. And it disabled the radio communications. It was a massively, a highly intelligent creature and massively large. 33 foot long, man-eating, 14 tentacled octopus, not an ordinary octopus. They go on to say that this thing copied the form of a human, tricked them into conversing with each other, and then, would spit out the ink that was poisonous and pull them in. One of the woman scientists lopped off one of its limbs, and the limb itself came back for revenge later that night and killed her in her sleep, cut her up with an axe. It is a crazy story. It is clearly not true. However, I actually do think it had hypnotized him telepathically. There's some clues in this story that would indicate, again, looking at the numerology, the Steganography, that something is occurring down here. The fact that this news made it out on this site, and I haven't been able to find it anywhere else other than this site where Joseph Farrell referenced it, is interesting to me. I do think that there may be an absolute groundbreaking discovery relating to potentially an ancient technology or an ancient race or something beneath the ice of Antarctica. What that thing is related to Vlad, Mr. Putin, it is unclear. They say that there's nothing of scientific interest. I beg to differ. I think something happened down here. This is a cover story. Whether it has to do with biology or whether it has to do with something else entirely, I challenge, again, the audience to the Steganography course to help me identify some of the other markers I may be missing. Look at what some clues might be, like what does number 22 signify as the master builder number to Freemasonry, to build something new on top of an old civilization, maybe the 2.2 mile core sample. Like I said, whatever's found down there is going to be used foundationally as a technology to rebuild society. Something like that. I don't know, but that's how I interpret partially what this thing is. I'll link it in the description so you guys can have it for yourself. We also have the Arecibo story that it looks like maybe Space Tech has severed it. Space Tech itself has severed the Arecibo the Arecibo cables because of how they're frayed. It looks like they've been melted using heat or energy. So we've been covering this story for a minute. Where was it before? Yeah, I know that we covered it in a video before, the Arecibo telescope breaking. But boy, if it was an act of sabotage, because look how these things are frayed, it's using heat or energy, something to pay attention to. Moving along, we've got CNN Business, space is becoming too crowded. Rocket Lab CEO warns, and then Zero Hedge then reporting fears of explosion in Orville as space junk crisis worsens. We've talked about this for a long time too. Another hit. I bring this up for another hit because earlier in the year, we had discussed this in these same videos. And again, in this section here, somewhere along in this section, but I think when we were talking about COVID-19 outbreaks and such. So, guys, another thing this signifies is that Cliff High's data is spot on, because Cliff High's data is one that has forecasted this for a really long time. Well, hello, Anonymous, over on Theta. Truly, did you secure the name Anonymous? Are you? Because I don't think there can be another Anonymous on on Theta. So good on you for securing that name. Good to have you on the stream. So anyway, the crisis that we're going to break into here is going to actually require field theory to break into the consciousness, and we're probably going to have to use Nikola Tesla's tech paradigm just to survive. Thanks, Anonymous. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining on the stream. Hope to see you again soon. But if this happens, then what are we going to do? Because we can't launch anything up there. It's going to create a chain reaction effect is what everybody's fear is. Just like the movie Gravity, where just everything will be destroyed. All of SpaceX's endeavors. Oh, look at this. Look at this space junk video. Look at this thing. Oh, I didn't see this before, but here's the representation of the space junk. Oh my God. How are we going to clean that up? So space paradigm doesn't come without its difficulties, but alongside it, in order to have the space economy and the mining and all this Project Artemis stuff happening, like I alluded to earlier, PayPal now starting crypto payments in 2021. Theta probably going on Coinbase sometime soon. The Binance wallet being drained. Follow Bix Weir's video, like over on the road to Ruta. So if you go road to Ruta and you go to his page and you actually go to his video from earlier today, he's talking about this very thing. So
fun to watch this address, which is.
So this address ends, by the way, in 555. This is what I was pointing at earlier. Bix correctly identified this address as the address that Binance, the big exchange, has a lot of their Theta tokens itself stored in. And what it appears is that 150 million tokens has been dwindled down to about 5 million tokens, 5.5 million, because it would appear that they're redistributing all the tokens probably to the wallets of the people that should have them in their personal wallets in the first place. Because I think, again, the SEC is going to come after a lot of, or the CFTC in the case of the exchanges. So the CFTC, I think Bix is also correctly identifying that the CFTC may crack down on this this action of having all crypto stored in one wallet thing that the exchanges are doing, so they can prove that they have possession of the cryptos. What he's talking about, and what's huge here, is that with this 555 address, which I have to believe is related to Steganography. Remember, we're even talking about Virtu Financial with Vincent Viola, right? Vincent Viola. There are three V's in this. So it's got me wondering, Virtu Financial, Vincent Viola, who he's also talking about in this video, I think might have something to do with this wallet if they set it up purposefully this way, which I don't know. I'm almost forced to look into the speculative field whenever I see Steganography, even if it's something that is not being told to me. I guess the rabbit hole will stop getting deeper in that direction if there's nothing to look at. So what I'm going to let you guys see here is, of course, this is all part of the space tech future as we transition into cryptos. And as I hope where some of these discussions start to go in the next series, in the next video series that I do, because I think it matters more to the average person right now. Space is real interesting. It's really cool to see where we're headed. But given the nature of the financial analysis that I've given you guys here, that you guys can now go look at, what you're going to find is that in the financial analysis, it's really limited to the access that the average person has, because you have to have like $1 million in your pocket even to play ball in these arenas. So unfortunately, participation in the space economy, unless something changes in terms of the access, doesn't matter. And that's why the crypto, as it relates to ledgering, whatever we find up there, whatever economy we construct across not just our own solar system, but across systems, has to have all of this ciphering in mind. So end of manipulation is where we're at right now with this, right? So all I'm pointing at is that all of a sudden, there's a lot of good stuff happening as we course into the end of the year here with crypto. The Chinese exchanges are getting taken down. So really, really large volume exchanges are now crashing. We got the one in Korea that got taken down. We got the one in China that got taken down. We got BitMEX that got taken down. Now, Binance is, according to Bix, and I think I agree with him, scrambling so they get their ducks in a row so they don't have to get taken down. They're scrambling to get into compliance and make sure that the people that are on their exchange have what's in their pocket. Does this have to do something with the rise in Bitcoin today? I don't know. Market book. I always look at coinmarketbook.cc, guys, because that actually shows buy support. This actually shows like where people are buying actual crypto and what the volumes are for the day. So Bitcoin trading at 12, that's going to hit 13,000. Boy. Yeah, we're seeing Bitcoin go up today considerably. So wherever this ends, I don't know. This could be kind of a hallmark day by the end of, or hallmark week. I don't know. I don't call markets or try to analyze them because of how manipulated they are. One of the reasons I look at coin market book, because you can see the actual buy support volumes. But I'll let Bix talk to you guys here about what he's finding in this wallet. Check it out.
I'll put it in a link. I'll put in the link in the description below this video. It ends with 555. I'm not going to read it all off, but it was determined to be the hot wallet. And it's pretty easy to figure out what Binance is paying out in, because all you have to do is take a delivery of Theta, have them send it to you, and you'll see what wallet it comes from. So yeah, that's real exciting news. It's literally the countdown has begun. Now, it was just a couple seconds ago that we did a refresh on this, right? Let's do it again. 55, I'm going to write it down. 5580324. Now, this is 21 minutes ago, so probably isn't moving. Who knows? Could be every 5 minutes, could be every 20 minutes. It looks like it's slowing down too. So maybe they did get the theta that they needed. So let's see where we are. Let's just look at the last 5. 8324. Refresh. 8324. See, it hasn't moved in 25 minutes. So it is slowing down, but if you go back through all the transactions, it's every couple minutes. And then for a while there, in the beginning, it was even faster. So the sell-off is slowing down, which to me means that they have enough for their customer, which means the Guardian node that they were going to unstake to get those tokens, I think they can keep it there.
So what Bix is saying there is kind of key. What it seems they were scrambling to do was calculate enough of a lead-in to how much theta they would need to deliver their customers, because a lot of them are taking it out. A lot of people are starting Guardian nodes. So by withdrawing it off the account, people are attempting to stake this theta into the Guardian node system. And on my node, at least, I look at that number climbing day after day. It's up to like 515 million. Just in the last week and a half, I think they've added about 20 million theta publicly staked. So that number is rising, and you're going to see as we get closer to the Theta platform launching, cryptos are just going to flip and take off into the end of the year, I think. I think we're starting to see it here as we approach the election, people using it as a safe haven to secure their wealth, you know? So, crazy times, everybody. So this is kind of an address to watch, and he even included it in his right here. So Bix included the link of it in his description. I'll include his link so you go check out his video because he's done the analysis on this. But let him continue.
We'll see. What does it mean? It means it's a damn good time to get yourself some Theta and start a Guardian node at 60 cents. It will cost you $6,000 to get 10,000 Theta. Theta is the future of the internet. Theta is the future, probably the future of smart contracts. They're definitely using smart contracts for their internal purposes, for the gaming and all that, which is the core of Theta. But hey, if Ethereum can't get their shit together, Theta can do smart contracts in the Ethereum same programming language for pennies per.
Did you guys hear that? This is true. Theta, being SHA algorithm 256, can actually handle all the smart contracts from Ethereum. This is probably one of the bigger plays that the validator nodes will play a part in, is the smart contract parsing in the future. Theta's got the network ability to have bandwidth opened up, of course, to where we can actually, in my eyes, bypass any need for, it's what it does is it sets us up for that quantum computing future where you don't actually have a cell phone signal going to your phone. It's quantumly entangled and validated by a blockchain. Theta can be that validator. Every single computer watching a stream is a validator. And you download the Edge cacher, and then the ultimate, you can get these Guardian nodes, and then the big enterprise guys like the Googles and the Binances that he's talking about can have the validator, I think they're, the validator nodes, not Guardian nodes, but validator nodes. The big ones, 93 million staked Theta is what Binance has. So all of this is happening now. The manipulation of the market's coming apart, which probably means true value for cryptos is about to be established. We haven't had that for a very long time. And we're going to see how this lines up with the space technology into the end of the year. There's a reason why I'm also introducing these topics today relating to the crypto stuff itself, because I do want to spend a lot more time on crypto moving forward, even on the Patreon side, because I was in the industry in its nascent days. I was in the industry from 2016 all the way through to early 2019, when the technology I was working on had to take a pause. It was a regulation-based technology, and the dust had to settle. So I am very deeply entrenched and care a lot about the blockchain technology space. And this is hopefully a preamble to where we're going to be tying these concepts in with space, and to where all you vCypher community folks will understand how to trust the information coming out because of what's at the heart of all this. So I'm going to let Bix conclude his thoughts. I've got about a half hour left. I've got to move quickly along to these other video clips that I've got to share after him so we can close this out. But here are the remainder of his thoughts, and I want to tie in the changeover of the finance and the reset to the space economy, again, with our friend Joseph Farrell, as he's being interviewed by both Catherine Austin Fitts in this audio clip, and then the Dark Journalist. I'm going to speak to a couple of different markers that I've gotten there.
Per transaction,
but here's
not
big.
Even pennies. Thousandth of a penny per transaction, whereas Ethereum, in times it gets busy, oh my God, you're paying like $2 or $3 for one transaction. You can't run a business on that platform. So keep an eye on that. Really exciting stuff. Again, I am a big fan of Theta. By the way, for an overall on Theta right now, we're looking at the total staked of 506 million of the 1 billion coins. Over 50% are already staked. Do you have yours yet? You better get yours. If you guys saw, obviously Michelle White Dove has it going over 1,000. If you saw the remote viewing of Theta by the crypto viewing guys, which I will be speaking with Dick Allgaier on Friday, and I want to talk to him about, especially their new remote viewer, Hitomi. She seems to be absolutely freaking spot on. But the whole team did a great job on Theta and just reassured me that we're in the right place with Theta it's probably going to eclipse Bitcoin as far as market cap. You heard it here first. No, Michelle Whitetub, obviously at $1,000 theta, that's what is that? 1,000 times a billion is that a trillion? Let's do the math. I know this is an easy one, but my head, I don't want to get it wrong like I always
It's
do.
a lot of money, Bix. Anyway, you guys can go watch the rest of his video. He's also mentioned he's going to go do at the end of this video, he's going to be doing a meetup in Phoenix area, which is where I live. So I'm really going to I've been communicating with him lightly, attempting to get him to bite on talking about some of the Wizard of Oz topics with me. He's been pretty busy in the last couple of weeks, so I'm going to continue on that strand because I'm also trying to get him over here on Theta. So I can make the intros to get him over to here on Theta, and he won't take me up on it. So I gotta track him down. I gotta offer some help for his Arizona meetup because I do want to see if we can put something like that on when he's suggesting out in December. So if anybody else is down here in the Southwest and you're a follower of this stuff and on Patreon, I'm going to offer my services to him and see if we can, I cross my fingers, see if we can line things up together. I think it'd be really neat. But without further ado, I wanted to share some insights that Catherine Austin Fitz, Joseph Farrell have been going over the last couple weeks in her quarterly wrap up. And again, you can go subscribe to her stuff on solarreport.com, solarreport.com. And this is just a small clip that I'm going to play from their conversation. They do these 4-hour-long conversations at the end of every quarter. They do 2 parts, so it's like 8 hours long. And they haven't done part 2 yet, but this is part 1. About 39 minutes in, they're talking about some of these concepts and that we've been talking about in this video. And then we're gonna, after this, they tee this up and talk about it. We're gonna go to the end of the video around the 3 hour and 10 minute mark and talk a little bit about what they're seeing.
Fine. If you want to finance our competition, you're toast.
And she's talking about, I believe she's talking about here, because we're kind of jumping into the middle of it, of China, of course, the competition of the United States.
We're pulling the rug.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That's exactly what's going on here. So we're watching the game of musical chairs, not just at the local level. We're watching it on a global scale.
Right.
And, I hate to put it this way, we're watching the collapse of the globalist enterprise, and now it's everybody for themselves.
Right.
And they're aligning on the old geopolitical great power blocks again. And this is what I think is fascinating. And I don't think, again, from the way I look at it, Catherine, pardon me, I'm not seeing that Mr. Globaloney saw that coming. To a certain extent, maybe, but to this extent, I don't think they did.
I think Mr. Globaloney is very frustrated that they can't get the new system in place.
By the way, Mr. Globaloney is a meme that they both use just to identify the unknown guy underneath the image we showed earlier, underneath the swamp structure, the deep state structure, the unseen financier pulling all these strings. How are these space efforts, breakaway civilizations able to be financed, right? Well, it's moving money around with the changing around of things with a lot of subtle misdirection and things like the banks do. But this is the meme that they've entitled Mr. Globaloney. So Mr. Globaloney's agenda is a collective of a bunch of these elite guys that they've memorialized this way. Just in case anybody's confused about that concept. But as you can see, they're talking about the transition of the system and how they actually believe Mr. Globaloney, who it would be against a Bitcoin future and the crypto future, has lost control of the transition out of this old system. If we're taking the perspectives of, the timing of all of this stuff into consideration, it lends credence to the fact that this time that we're living in, we're talking about with these eclipse periods, was a mechanism of sorts from an ancient period of time that would be a powerful thing to harness the energy of for your agenda. In many ways, this is exactly what we covered and proved with this BTC transition and the boring alchemy agenda story. that we talked about with the Earth Grid Network and how it ties into the Full Metal Alchemist series and exactly what they're trying to do. Because, you know, did I get that one up? Because I really did think that I got up the thing about CERN. There was another article about CERN, but I'm not going to be able to find it. There's CERN's in the news lately. Oh, here it is right here. I just found it. Large Hadron Collider, confident to make contact with parallel universe in days. This is from October 10th. So CERN's at the heart of some big cosmological conspiracy right in the middle of these days. Like parallel universes, bullshit. There's some bullshit afoot with this, guys. I just, you know, CERN's there for something else. I think the boring ritual is it's a big alchemical transmutation circle, using the terminologies from the Full Metal Alchemist series. So the timing of all of this is key. You can definitely tell Mr. Globaloney, back to Catherine Fitz, was trying to do something in this time to bring about a future that has now gotten out of hand. And largely, I think, because of COVID's, the control and the agenda of COVID has been lost. Let's just put it that way. Finance and space are our future. Let's continue.
Right.
And I have a lot of unanswered questions. We'll get to some of them in unanswered questions. They feel an extreme need to dramatically cut resource use globally. And that's an emergency. And the question is why?
Why indeed? She's talking about the supply chain shortages all of a sudden. And if you've seen in the news, all of a sudden the shipping container routes are full. So what's this capacity issue and what was the need to cut it off? It's very enigmatic.
And this is where, you know, I keep coming back to this thing. We are living in a planet where everything's secret. And it's ridiculous. And, you know, if you look at the misunderstandings and the confusion, you know, it's a symphony orchestra trying to play in the dark.
Yeah, exactly. And Mr. Globaloney is caught up in the secrecy game. In other words, again, he has engineered his own destruction with his own secrecy.
Right.
Because now he's in the position, banker A doesn't know what banker B is doing.
Right.
And, you know, and they're going to try and roll all of this system into the cloud and have digital currencies and FASB 56 and make that system work.
Now, remember, guys, as they're going to go into digital currencies here, the one thing that Joseph Farrell and Catherine Austin Fitz could use is a good perspective on Bitcoin itself and what it represents as sound money. I've said it before. It's probably like the one thing I disagree with their standpoint on is Bitcoin itself. Digital currencies, definitely, like non-distributed ledger currencies that have no blockchain component or proof of work concept have no place as a currency. But they're blanketing all of these into one category when they talk about all these. So be discerning. They're not necessarily decrying Bitcoin. I don't think they know what it is they speak of yet from an engineering perspective. Their minds are focused elsewhere, in other words. So around that topic, this is what they have to say.
Well, you know, it's funny.
You cannot function.
In the state of our currencies, I went through all the challenges they're facing, and it's really hard. So, for example, I don't know if you saw the FinCEN leak.
I saw it. I don't recall much of the detail.
Well, it's real simple. You know, dirty money's flying all over the world. And, of course, FinCEN knows everything about who's got it and where it's going. And, you know, if you look at the Fed systems and the SWIFT system and FinCEN, they have complete control. Who are we kidding here?
Yeah.
So if you come up with a totally centrally controlled system, what's your excuse on why you can't stop organized crime now? Right. So,
Unless
right, but you've got this huge bubble from organized crime being done very redundantly, you know, because you've got the drug dealers and then you got the enforcers and you're kind of controlling, but it's a big bubble, and there's no way that bubble can continue. You know, it's going to get compacted like everything else.
There's no way this bubble can continue. It's going to get compacted like everything else. Pay heed to these words. she's talking about, the everything financial bubble that we're in right now, and it's deflating rapidly.
So,
well, since you're in the Netherlands, we're watching the tulip bubble all over again.
Right.
Tulip mania.
Well, here's the thing. If you look at the private equity guys who are prioritizing, and it's not just the U.S., it's the planet. Because when you throw the world into a debt trap, and, I kept saying the emerging market's going to get thrown into a debt trap, but that's what you're doing. When you throw the world into a debt trap and you have a group of private equity guys with 0% cost of capital who can buy everything, what do you think's going to happen?
Well,
so this is what we have. This is the situation she's painted out. Our bond market effectively is at 0% interest rates for borrowing. They still need to remain productive. So who's this money getting gobbled up by? It's these special interests in the background, and they need to make this money productive. So they're taking it off books using your FASB 56 accounting standard, and they're sending it to these very government contractors that we're talking about that hide all of this stuff in plain sight with the Steganography, the military industrial complex. Thanks, Shaf, for the link. Shaf is talking about a link of an old interview Joseph Farrell did. So he's going to send that my way. Appreciate it. Oh, thanks for the 25 Theta Fuel donation too, Shaf. Shaf is the master of earning Theta Fuel too, by the way, guys. And Shaf is in the Discord community. So if you want to know some of the ins and outs on how to make Theta work for your advantage and get some Theta Fuel in your pocket, just kind of a public service announcement. Join the vCypher Discord community at least the initiate level, which is $5 pledge wise, and you can learn from him. So, and then, oh, cool. Thanks, Shaff. And then, of course, we'll be talking about, I'm sure, a better place. Actually, Shaff, a better place to post the interview that you're referencing, just post it to the Discord channel, dude. That's what you should do. That way, everybody else that's in there too can see what you're talking about. Anyhow, this is where we're going with the Catherine Austin Fitz, Joseph Farrell conversation. These guys, all this money is off books, and the bubble is deflating before our eyes.
Another way to look at this is go back to Venice.
Right.
I mean, we're watching these people liquidating debt and turning it into liquidity.
The Cantillon effect. This is Max Kaiser's Cantillon effect. Also, if anybody's a follower of Max Kaiser, this is what he's pointed out. Like in every episode of the last year and a half, he's talking about the Cantillon effect.
It's totally off the charts. And I'm thinking Venice, they did the same thing in the 16th century. They liquidated all of the public debts of the Republic and turned it into liquidity. And then they moved shop to Amsterdam.
Another swamp.
Okay.
Move from a swamp
so I'm
to
thinking,
a swamp.
Okay, where are we moving shop to here?
Another swamp, DC.
Suborbital platform. Right.
Ding,
All the
ding,
way up to
ding.
the
That's
suborbital
exactly
platform.
what I'm thinking. And then the question becomes, well, why are they doing that? And then why are they so nervous?
So this is a good question. If they're able to create this breakaway civilization with all this breakaway money, why are they so nervous? And this is what order of the day, I think, is more importantly on everybody's minds, is because this period of time is an enlightening one for humanity. It's this wave that we can catch in this weird 7-year period. It's an astrology window, and spells are being cast just like from a transmutation circle perspective. The Full Metal Alchemist, I don't think they're able to cast their spells as exactly as they wanted to. They didn't get the arrangement set up. I think this is why they're afraid. But the markers are all there, of course, for the activity that they're doing.
About it. I mean, Catherine, we're watching Space Force being deployed to Dubai or someplace. Germany, I'm watching Germany really close because they've decided that, we need our own satellite capability. Now, this occurred in an article that was published by some evangelical outfit, but they pointed out that Germany has had its own kind of little off-the-books secret space program that nobody in the Bundeswehr, no one in the German military really knows anything about.
What have we talked about?
And then you throw in Japan, which has...
What have we talked about with the Nazis even working within the constructs of the United States military-industrial system. Operation Paperclip lends credence to this. Antarctica lends credence to this. What are we really talking about here, guys? We're about to get slapped up alongside the face once crypto is out and being used by people with velocity for an economy like we've never seen, because we're going to space. This is what I suspect it all leads to, as a necessity, because these guys can't keep it to themselves anymore. I think something broke where these guys wanted to keep it to themselves, and there's going to be no way to do so, and humanity's going to get to benefit for all the labor that we've been putting into building it, sweat off of our brow for these last God knows how many years, 150 years. Anyway, about 3 hours and 10 minutes in, I'm going to fast forward. They start talking about some more implications of the geopolitical sphere around all of this and what it means.
And have first access to the resources.
Well, I think that's, yes, I think that's definitely part of the plan.
All about resource grabs. So they talk about stuff, and then they come back to this topic of resource grabs as to the impetus for being in space at all. And of course, this is where the Artemis Accords come in. On the surface, the Artemis Accords are talking about mining the moon and getting women up there, the Artemis plan, blah, 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 right? So this is what they're speaking to in this resource grab meme from the elite perspective.
Change agenda. The other part of it, I think, is just to put out a narrative to disguise the fact that they are capable of engineering weather systems.
Boom.
That's very possible.
But my point there is,
because your number one control point globally is weather warfare.
Right. And as they came out after Al Gore, popularized the idea, they came out with a new financial instrument called weather derivatives. That's a handy thing to have around.
Invest in weather derivatives
by controlling the weather. No, it's just, to me, the problem here is, and the reason I stress this is that there are people among the elite that genuinely believe that narrative, because again, they're clueless. They are stupid themselves. So I don't have any.
This is part of what the Christ consciousness time is all about too, is we're smarter than they are because of the interbreeding and the idiocracy that's happened to the system that they themselves have designed and built. They've they've fallen victim to that system and rendered themselves stupid. This is where we win out by applying things like the Steganography so that we don't have to, so we can actually take advantage of the thing that they built off of our backs. Okay. Kind of cool that we get to re-inherit, I think, if this plays out and if we can truly harness the power of this time. I mean, that we've got work to do to get there, but if we can do that, I think that's what awaits.
Difficulty believing it's all three, and that some of those people in Mr. Globaloni's elite genuinely believe this nonsense. But the other two, I think, are huge factors. I have had the sense, and again, Catherine, I'm not basing this on any solid, arguable evidence. It's basically an intuition or a speculation. I've had the sense that there is some sort of thing or danger or major risk that they're aware of that they are not telling other people.
Major danger, major risk that they're not telling other people. This is the part where it gets a little bit spooky, because I think what he doesn't know is that I agree with him. I think Saturn, the planet itself, is a weapon of mind control that's being used in conjunction with the instrument of the moon to enslave all of us. So our squabbles here in humanity, we're going to have to get over this Mr. Globaloni crap anyway. But truly, what we have to figure out is why this has been allowed to happen in the first place, and exactly how far into the matrix does Saturn have us, right? How far into the matrix does Saturn have us? Because again, I'm going to replay this. This is just too much impact not to keep playing for people, because I think this is really at the heart of what these times are all about. And remember, using this, they've tagged each of the moons of Saturn when they reach a certain radii with a ping, and when they get to that ping, it's going to create an instrument, it's going to create kind of this pattern, and then we're going to zoom in, and it's going to play the chord that the rings of Saturn play as you strum them like a string. Here it goes, zooms in again. No, this is the second time we've seen it on the video. It's just, this matters a lot, I think. Remember the THX, what George Lucas's sound effect was. The audience is listening. What are we the audience to? Their theater, right? Their mind control theater. Who is they? Like this is truly, you can see it's the same sound. So what are we the audience to? I think it's the secret of all time. These ancient races that that Norman Berggren discovered with the Voyager photography and released in his book, Ringmakers of Saturn. Ringmakers of Saturn, by the way, I think I have a copy of it in here. Yeah, check it out. This Evernote thing is working out, guys. Ringmakers of Saturn, right here. So in the book, he, of course, finds these vehicles that are in the orbit that are creating the rings at the time in 1986, and by this point in time, I think it's all constructed. And so constructed as to do what? To work alongside the moon, maybe. I think this is what's got people scared shitless in certain levels of government, is that we've always been in their matrix potentially, right? So this is my own speculation based on research, but that's the point that I think he's making here as we make this transition into space, is we may find in our immediate vicinity that there are space creatures out there that are not very nice to us and would have it that we don't wake up, right?
Right.
Now, I think they may be hinting at it by this. Have you noticed something during this planned scandemic with the virus? There have been these constant trickles of stories about asteroids coming close to the France. You know, a la Dr. Carol Rosen and her affidavit years ago that she talked about Werner von Braun's telling her the plan. I get the feeling that there's some sort of thing that they may be aware of regarding space that they're in a hurry about.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with the breakaway energy thing is, I tend to think that that's in the cards as well, because we constantly have been watching these little stories during this planned scandemic. You know, I get emails all the time. Why aren't you talking about politics and the election? Or why aren't you talking about this or that? Why are you talking about space and all of this stuff? Because I think that's part of the story of the planned scandemic. It's being used as a distraction while at the same time they're revealing all of these other things.
Right.
What have we been talking about with the Steganography?
They come along,
the grand reveal,
and whatever revelation that they decide to give, they can say, well, we told you so.
Right.
Just see here, it's on the record.
So keep that in mind, guys. I'm of that mind. And what else might Saturn represent? Well, I want to close out this video, actually, leave you guys wanting for more. I guess because it is getting to we'll do one more space video, like I said, to close out the month, which you can anticipate. We'll have the Dark Journalist and Joseph Farrell's analysis. This was a deep interview on some things that needed to be corrected. I'm also next month going to be streaming where you play the character V in Cyberpunk. I'll be playing this live on Theta. So if anybody wants to watch me as I do this, we're going to decode this whole game and what it has to say about the V steganography. If you see the Cyberpunk V, well, the letter itself is a sideways V. Pretty crazy there, but there you go. And then we'll also keep uncovering the history mystery. Unz did a 3-part series on the false history mystery agenda. But to close this piece out, Saturn, guys. Saturn is the key, I think, to what's happening with the mind control aspect of what's going on now. KDAC says they have to give us notice of what's happening. It just happens to be in a massive distraction event. Yep, that's right, KDAC. That's kind of how occult spells work. But the Saturn one it's a really good segue into this last piece that I'm going to share with you guys. Santos Bonacci, it's a podcast from 2015. He's going to explain some of the mythology behind Saturn. Now, full disclosure, Santos Bonacci is a flat earther. So he's not a physics expert. He's a linguistics expert. So his perspective on it's interesting, but he thinks like the sun is the only sphere in their system. Everything else is like an amoeba, like a cell. Interesting perspective, false entirely. He doesn't understand physics. But he says some interesting things about linguistics as it relates to Saturn and what you might want to pay attention to with the myth of what is being kept from you and as it relates to controlling your nous. So here it is. Here's Santos Bonacci with some introductory, mythological thoughts on Saturn that might tie some of this together for you.
Of course, Saturn, and Saturn is a planet. Saturn is an archetype. It's in mythology. It's a god, a cruel god. In astrology, he's a greater malefic, which means a really naughty boy. He's not the Messiah. And Mars is a lesser benefic, but still a naughty boy. Both of those planets are of the archetype of Shiva from the west with the swastika, from the east with the swastika. Both of those planets. In fact, all of the planets really, really signify the cross. As Plato said, matter, the spirit in matter or mind in matter, impressed itself in the form of a cross. This is why the cross is such a sacred symbol. It expresses the 4 elements: solid, liquid, gas,
the wheel is
radiance,
another expression of the cross. As
Plato would have said, earth, water, air, and fire. It expresses condition, and so the 4 conditions of our reality. Our body is a fourfold body in terms of
here are all
elements.
The conditions over
these
here.
are elements.
These are Ken Wheeler's documents.
And so the cross, as I show in my work too, I'm about to release a presentation called Atomic Language, in which I show that all language, all words, all thoughts, all things come from atom. Atum in Egypt, atom in Greek, Adam in Hebrew. Atom, all derivations of that,
And again, we're talking about the other languages. This brings whole different context, I think, back to this whole thing with the 27-26 win in the team Horus over here. Team Horus, 33rd career game-winning drive, 5-0 record. Space technology ritual happening over in the NFL. I think this all lines up.
Latin, Saturn, all these are from the one root, which is atom, which is the atomic nature
Saturn,
of the universe.
Atom.
What language does that originally come from?
What's that?
Material.
You said atom.
And what is an atom? It's a material. So the materialists are the Saturnian worshippers, right? The Saturn worshippers, the Satan worshippers, CHRONOS, time worshippers. Time is to mire yourself in this realm and not involve yourself in divinity. Not reach above for the lambda. Let your noose get wrapped up in the seat of the V.
Where does that originally come from? Is that Latin?
Atom is Latin and Greek, yes. Atum with a U is Egyptian, and they said that all is atum, all. And so
all is material. All is basically this mystery of actually how Saturn relates to God. But there's a reason why Saturn's been hijacked by whoever is creating this musical instrument or mind control instrument. It has a harmonic associated with it. This is why I've pointed this out, guys. This article is something else I'll put in here. The chords it creates and the resonances that these rings create, especially with the objects placed in its orbit. Pretty crazy stuff. And are the world elite, Mr. Globaloni, scared shitless? Yeah, I think they might be. I think they really might be. So time will tell. No pun intended. CHRONOS, get it? It's a Saturn joke. I've actually said that a couple of times in the last couple of weeks as it relates to Saturn, which is perfectly timed. But that's where we're going to leave it for now. We'll close out. We'll do the fourth and final space tech video before the end of this month, before we start getting into the history mystery stuff more, because I think it'll be much more interesting as we course through November. And hopefully Donald Trump will have talked to Joe Rogan on his podcast between now and the next 2 weeks when the election happens, so we can truly figure out some of this stuff with more validity. But big stuff in crypto, guys. Watch Theta, watch Bitcoin. We'll watch the wizardry. Look for the V Steganography. Join the Patreon channel at one of these levels, especially if you guys want to, or upgrade rather, because everybody in here that's watching this video is already at least at the $3 level. But upgrade to join the Discord server, and at the $5 level, $15 level gets you the Evernote library, so you can have all these resources at your disposal. And that'll do it for now. Love everybody. Be safe, and expect more here in the coming days as I also start streaming a couple of games and such over on Theta. You'll find me over here doing stuff where I'm not going to be posting videos too. But also, I guess, one other thing. Look out for on YouTube. It's been requested that I do a video with some book resources, book recommendations. So I'm going to do that this next week or so as well. Anyway, thanks everybody. Be safe. Talk to you soon.